Well, you mentioned one of the stories from the book earlier. I think the name you brought up was Charlotte's story. And throughout the different chapters, you introduce different stories like that. And in chapter 8, you bring up the story of Area. And I wanted to bring
Mhm.
this up because oftentimes, as people are dealing with depression or anxiety or something else, they're given different medicines to regulate themselves. And in the case of Area, if I have it correctly, she was using Adderall for stimulation and Xanax to calm down and was experiencing the seesaw between panic and then zombie mode. How common is this stimulant sedative loop, and how do we begin untangling from it?
Thank you for that question. And I want to provide a little bit of radical empathy and balance to the work that I'm bringing into the world first. And then I would love to expand on the philosophy is I want to make sure that people know that there's a time and a place for medications. And medications can be life-saving. And in fact, in my story, in the beginning, Lexapro was life-saving for me. And I want to encourage people to be self-empowered and to know that you can heal, but this doesn't mean that you have to immediately get off of all of your medications. For some of us, medications are necessary. So I really mention that and honor it. And instead of putting a period at the end of that sentence and saying, well, now I'm just stuck on this antidepressant or whatever I've been prescribed for the rest of my life, is allow that to give you a little bit of space. If you had a knee replacement, you have a cane, it can take some of the pressure off so that we can then put a semicolon at the end, right? And then we can keep exploring what are my symptoms trying to tell me needs healing and how. And so for Aria, she had a lot of complex trauma. She had a lot of stress, and she didn't have much sense of what was happening in her body. She wasn't able to hear the whispers. It needed to be shouting for her to pay attention. She was very focused. She was very singular minded. I know that you work with a lot of high powered, high pressure entrepreneurs, CEOs, and there's a lot of stress to perform and to really be on. And so Aria needed that Adderall at that time to help with clarity, to help with energy, to help with focus. But there was a reason, there was an underlying root cause as to why she lost some of that clarity. She lost some of that sharpness. Felt her mood dipping. And the great thing that when she came to me is that she was able to start doing the work of unpacking what's going on underneath of it and also, how much of your now experience is the side effect of the side effect of the side effect? What are the obstacles to cure for her? So she took the Adderall, but now she's in an autonomic arousal activated state. And so then she needed to take the benzodiazepine to calm back down. And our bodies are always trying to create homeostasis. Homeostasis is that state of balance, and I like to use the imagine a Bosu ball. This is a special form of torture they use in exercise, which is like a ball that's half cut and you can put your feet on it and balance it. So if you imagine someone standing on a Bosu ball and they've got their
Fun to do
kind of
burpees with that.
oh, absolute torture. So you're doing a burpee, and so let's say that now I put a really heavy wrist weight just on one side, on one arm. You're gonna have to adapt to that, right? You're gonna have to position your body differently. Your muscles are gonna adapt differently. You might even compensate by cocking your hip to one side. And so that's what the body does. When something is out of balance, it will try to shift to keep you back into homeostasis. And so this is what happens when we develop a tolerance for a medication or anything. If someone's used to drinking a gallon of water a day and then they drink half a gallon suddenly, their body is like, where's all my water? We've equilibrated around having this certain thing. And so that happens with medications. And so if we start with the benzodiazepines, they can become incredibly habit forming because as we increase the bioavailable GABA, that relaxing, calming neurotransmitter that Aria really wanted to calm down at night, is the body and the brain will stop producing as much of its own GABA, and it will down regulate the number of receptors for GABA. It's trying to create homeostasis. But then, as you try to come down on the dose or maybe skip a dose, you find yourself in a deficiency of GABA. So then we find that people are needing to take more frequent doses or higher doses. They're getting intradose withdrawal. So now Aria is finding she's needing to take more of the benzo. She's taking more of the Adderall because now she's hungover from the benzo. So she's in extreme whiplash. And in that story, something pretty horrific happens to her, which I know you read in the book. And so the process is she worked with her primary prescribing doctor to try to stabilize those medications. And then she and I started to do the work of what is underneath of that and how can we support the body to start to re-equilibrate and readapt? And that's a real, we could have a whole conversation about what do we do with benzos? How do we help people to re-equilibrate and come off of benzos? Because it can be a super challenging process. But it was a 2-point process. It's treating the root cause, keeping the water stable, and then slowly dialing back those doses. Almost, have you seen the meme of Homer Simpson, like, slowly backing
Yeah.
into the shrub? Yeah,
Yes.
we wanna do that with medication tapering, is slow and steady wins the race. You almost wanna, what is it, Irish goodbye, or is it a Dutch goodbye where you just leave? You just slowly back
Irish.
away?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we ended up having to do with Aria, and her story is just so cool because she was so spicy and fun.